Oi, Ryan, can you come here? And it was Scott Brown, the Saudi captain. And he went, Ron, can you just stay out with me for 20 minutes and just I want to practice some passing? Like, don't think you know anything. Just stay really humble. Never be scared to get told that you're doing something not quite right. Walked in, I had Gordon Strachan there, George Mackey there, Stephen Presley there, Gavin Strachan there, Lewis Hudson, and I was just in awe.
Welcome to the Proline Coaching podcast, where we talk about football coaching, player development, and everything else. I'm Bahgozen, and I'm joined by my co-host, Nolan. Carl, how's everything?
Very well, thank you, Ash. Really excited to have today's guest. We've had some experience coaching together, and I'm sure the viewers will really appreciate the rich experience Ryan's got.
Yeah, and today we're going to be joining with our guest, Ryan Conneely.
Yes, nice to meet you both. Nice to see you both, sorry. Looking forward to this.
Brilliant. So Ryan is a professional football coach with experience across youth and senior levels. He started coaching at 16, managed a women's team by 21, and earned promotions while gaining his UEFA B and A licenses. His career spans roles in the UK and the United States, including first team coaching, opposition analysis, and youth development. Now at Hednesford Town, he leads the coaching and analysis duties.
Welcome.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we coached together, mate.
It has, It's been about a year now?
Yeah, about a year, but we had some great experiences which we'll touch on later.
We did indeed.
Ryan, with all our guests, we like to go right back to the beginning. Where did it all start for you? Where did your love of football start? When did it start? How did it start?
Started in an entry by my house in Little Heath, Coventry, and it was me and my dad, and he would roll a ball at me, and I'd have to kick it back. But the entry was probably around that wide, and if I hit, and he wouldn't let me go in if I hit any of the walls, so I had to just practice hitting straight back at him from various distances. So he wouldn't basically. We were out there sometimes till it was dark. This is the age of probably 2-3 years old. There was no dinner unless I learnt to kick straight, basically.
Yeah,
so that's where it started.
Structured coaching, even as young
structured
as that age.
Coaching, yeah, it was structured coaching, yeah. But I absolutely loved it. From the age I can remember, really, it was all about football. So yeah,
brilliant. So when did you play for your first team? Did you play in any teams?
So my first team was Exall Tigers. Kev Mulvey, Steve Kerr were the coaches there. I was would have been 9 years old. On my first game, we actually got battered 8-0, but I actually played all right. It was like a trial game for me, and then I must have played okay, and then they signed me from that, and then so my first proper league, being part of a league, was when I was in year 5, so I'd have been 10 years old. Yeah. And we had for the level we had really good success there. I was part of a very good team at youth level.
Fantastic. And I know, as we'll come on to later, your dad has played a big part, it's fair to say, in your journey in football so far. How much impact did he have at those early ages?
Massive. So we were just football obsessed, so my dad would take me to all the Coventry City games. On Sundays we'd go and watch local men's teams. If Coventry weren't playing, we'd go and watch Bedford United and Edinburgh, stuff like that. So it was just all football. When I was at home, even if it was using a softball or a balloon, I'd be kicking a ball. On days off, he'd take me over to South Common, and he just practiced heading, kicking and stuff like that. So yeah, he was the one that drove me to absolutely be obsessed with football.
Brilliant. So teenage years, did you carry on playing football through your teenage years?
I did. Yeah, so I was probably the luckiest Sunday league player in youth football, because I played in a 3-man midfield for the team, and the 2 other midfielders went on to play for England schoolboys. So I had the easiest role. So we had really good success, but I just basically got the ball and passed it to them, and then they did it, and I looked half decentish.
Mate, don't worry about that. I made a whole career out of that.
It was actually really easy for me, really. But I was quite small, really, when I was younger. Wasn't the biggest lad kind of thing. So, I was part of a really good team. Got on with the players really well. So yeah, but it was probably around. When I was around about 13, 14, I started to think, okay, I started to think about the game slightly different rather than just being obsessed with playing.
Right, so Carl mentioned structure. As a kid, how structured was your training, when you got into those teams?
Back then, you trained probably once a week. So coaching back then was so different to what it's like at youth level now. then we did drills and stuff, but it was quite structured drills really. A lot of unopposed stuff. But we just absolutely loved it. But we lived for the game. We lived for like the games at the end and stuff like that. But back then, like the players that stood out were the really big ones and the ones that could kick it probably 30, 40 yards and lob the goalkeeper from far. But I was never that player really. But I really loved it. But most of my training stuff like that would have been away because obviously my brother then got older, Joe. And yeah, between him, me, and my dad, we would just on any kind of day off, we'd just go and play football and just practice drills, practice things really. But Joe was a lot better than me from an early age. That was quite clear to see.
Right. Yeah. So obviously a little bit more park football. I think that's missing in today's game, isn't it? With kids playing in the street. So would you value that a lot?
Yeah, 100%. I do think that a lot of modern coaching now, I think they do try and replicate at young age anyway, the like 3v3, 2v2, just off the cuff stuff.
Yeah.
But back then, so away from training, it was just like me and Joe would be from probably the age of when I was about 9, 10, we'd just play out. Like we had Longford Park, literally 2 minutes from our house, and in the summer and weekends and stuff when there weren't football, I'd be out from 9 o'clock, back in for lunch, quick hello. Back out again, like until dinner. Back out again until it was dark, kind of thing. So, and it was just playing like Wembley singles, Wembley doubles. Yeah. If it was just me and Joe, we just practiced like kicking the ball to each other. We'd have a group of like there was 4 of us. We play 2v2s. Like it was just off the cuff stuff, really, but really, really enjoyable stuff.
Yeah. So I can really relate to that. My childhood, right from I can remember, we had a field opposite us, kicking the ball from morning till when it got dark at night. Yeah. Balls going in back gardens, you can knock on the door, can be ball back.
The amount of walls I had to try and climb over and stuff like that to get balls back,
So really relate to that. So you shifted to coaching, Ryan, at a really young age.
Yeah.
What was the reason for that, why you went into it so early?
Probably because subconsciously I knew I weren't very good at playing. So I probably thought, I was obsessed with it, I wanted to get in football, but even from when I was like, say 14, 15, I remember I used to keep diary of every game. And I used to like comment on the game just from not kind of like commentating on it. I used to try and think about it differently. And I just always try and like, when I used to go Coventry City games, rather than be a fan, even when I was younger, probably a bit boring really, but I used to try and just watch what the players would do and kind of like how the team was set up and stuff like that. So I knew early on that I had a passion for thinking about the game slightly different. So then from as soon as I got to 16, then I was like, right, I want to do my level 1. So I just went and did my level 1. Like mum and dad helped me with it in terms of like paying for it, stuff like that. So pretty much from the age of 15, 16, I knew I wanted to coach.
Right. So you had a very analytical approach from a young age, and I can actually relate to that. You then went on to a team, or did you start coaching?
So I was at Bedworth. So youth level, I was at Bedworth United.
Okay.
Did 2 years there. So yeah, that was to the age of U18, which was a decent level. When I say like I wasn't very good in context of like other like top players, but I was okay for the level. I had my own. So then I left Bedworth there now when I was 18, but I did my level 2 during that time as well, because at that point then, like I said, I was well aware that I'm not going to become a professional football player, but I just love coaching. Like I love just thinking about football, and I thought what's probably the best route for me to get into the pro game? Probably going to need like the coaching route. So did that, and then after I left Bedworth then, when I was 18, 19, then I went into play for Copswood. Did Copswood for a year, then played for my dad. My dad had a team then, a local Coventry team. I went to play for them, Hawksmill. I had a really good team, and then I signed for Kenilworth Town, and that was my start then of the non-league ladder really.
Yeah.
So Ryan, with the coaching job, am I right? Your first coaching job was assisting your dad with a side. Is that right?
Yes, it was. Yes. So my dad took over a ladies' team when I was probably 12 years old, and they were officially the worst ranked team in the whole of women's football in the UK. Right. Like, that was the level, especially back then as well. But it was just it was my auntie really, my auntie Tracy. She had it was a works team for the old Marconi, where Cops was based. And they just said, look, we need a manager, can you help? And my dad did it. And then he went over there. We had low expectations in terms of like, he thought he was just filling a gap really. But after like 3 or 4 games, he became obsessed. And then at that point, then I used to go to all the training sessions, watch all the games. I was only 12, like really young. But even then I was like obsessed with what training sessions he was doing. Yeah. He'd even like rant to me about things, even though I was younger, probably just like venting, like thinking out loud. And it was that point then, yeah, like I had that really early on in terms of thinking about football from like, how do you plan sessions, what are you looking to do, how are you going to set up your team at the weekend, why are you setting them up that way, how you try and get players and stuff like that. So yeah, so I was open to the coaching side of it really, really early. And then I got to about 16 and then a little bit older, more confident. And then I started to actually assist him then with the coaching side and like set out the drills for him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You may say, Ryan, take a couple of players, do a bit of individual work. So yeah, so that was about 16 years old. Yeah, so yeah, it was a really good start for me.
So you mentioned making constant notes throughout that time. How did that evolve over the years? Did you obviously there was learning curves, right?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, so past my level 2 when I was 18.
Okay.
By that point, then I was like, right, I'd really love coaching here. Like, so then at that point, before it was just taking mental notes really and just doing what my dad kind of asked me to do. But when I got to the 18, 19, then he would then start going, right, Ryan, think about this. Can you start thinking about that? So I'd actually then start making actual proper notes in terms of like drills that he does, pre-season running. I'd research pre-season running, pre-season drills, technical drills. Nothing ever tactical because that was always left to him. But in terms of like your warm-ups and stuff like that, he then started to give me then like the opportunity then to deliver them. Whilst then I was always then watching him kind of like, right, what are you doing, why are you doing it, and just asking him basically and just writing down everything that I could.
Yeah.
So interesting dynamic working with your old man. What was that like?
We had the same goal really. So because I was so young anyway, he was a manager. He was always the manager. And my dad was like he's very like not controlling as such, but he wanted to have the say over everything. So which was fine because then obviously we worked because I wasn't confident enough to say anything really, but I just listened to him. But he had really good success. So he took them from, like I said, like they were the worst team in the UK. He got back-to-back promotions and he got them in like the Midland Combination League, which would have been the equivalent to step 3. So like he'd like step 3 of actual football, like the third highest tier. So he did really well. So I was just able to kind of watch him, like watch how he managed stuff like that, like pick up traits in terms of man management style. But I was just really all about the coaching. So I was just obsessed with training.
Yeah.
Like what happened in the game and stuff. I was like, obviously I watched to see the plan, but yeah, I was just training.
So you had a promotion.
Yeah.
You got to the FA Cup 4th round.
So my dad left. He left after, I think he was there, probably would have been like 10 years there. Yeah. He then got opportunity in men's football. And the ladies team needed a manager. And we had about 10 games of the season left and we were from the bottom of the league, the combination league. And the captain and vice captain just said, look, Ryan, do you want to just step in for us this season? Like, I went, look, I'm 21, you sure? And they went, look, let's do it. And then I just got the bug then, really. I think we lost our first game, but we needed players. So at that point then, I just became, right, I need to wheel and deal. I need to get some players in. We had no money, anything like that. Everyone paid to play. And I just became obsessed. Like, it was my life. Like, literally 24/7, obsessed. And we managed to get... We had good success, yeah. I managed to be able to get players in for midweek games, like, who weren't always available, who weren't really playing for us. But so we used to win midweek games. I used to like call the league, say we can't play like Stoke City on a Sunday.
Right.
We can play them on a Wednesday night because I know that I'll be able to get a few players in for the Wednesday night, and we managed to stay up. And whilst then I was doing the sessions and stuff like that, but we managed to stay up. And then after that, then we had a chat like with because we weren't a committee then; it was just captain, vice captain, and players. And they said, "Right, do you want to do it?" And I went, "Yeah, I want to do it full time." So that was how it started.
So your first managerial job.
Yeah.
Coaching the managerial. So when you look back on that first experience, because obviously you went into it quite inexperienced, and at a young age, what do you think made you, because you obviously what made you successful? What were the key ingredients, the key factors?
I had a really, really good group of players. I was learning on the job. I was very naive, probably a little bit, not know it all as such, but because I had decent success, and the way we couldn't compete with the big teams in the league, so we had to try and do something different. So we just had really good players. Like I had a core group of players who were just really, really good people, worked very hard, and I just put literally everything I had into trying to make it a success. I was obsessed, trying to make it a success, and we did okay for 2-3 years. And in my 4th year, then I managed to get a really good team together, and I started to play out. And I thought, right, I'm going to have this expansive coach. I want to play, but I didn't have a clue what I was doing, to be fair. And we scored like the highest amount of goals in the league. And I was like thinking, right, this is perfect, but we kept conceding, and we finished like mid-table, and I'd like build it up to be like, this is the year. And then in my fourth season, I decided, right, this is where I started to think about it differently and about players. And I just went, right, I'm going to get the most physical, aggressive team. We're not going to play. We're going to be really horrible to watch, and we went. I think we played 22 games in the league, won unbeaten in 21 of them. Lost the last game. Conceded 13 goals in the league. My goalie was unbelievable. The players were just brilliant. Like, there was no prima donnas, no fancy players, but they were all just aggressive, worked really hard, fought for everyone, and we managed to get promoted. So we got promoted into the championship. So that was in like my 4th year, and it wasn't really down to coaching as such. It was just down to getting good players around you and just managing them, really.
But I think what you're saying there is you had some core principles.
Yeah.
Communicated them to the players bought into it.
Yeah.
And I think if you get that in football, particularly in non-league, you're halfway there.
Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes back then. Like, the way I was then is different to how I am now. But yeah, it was just having all about the players. It was literally all the players. I just managed to get them in by working hard. Between me and Joe, obviously, because Joe was my assistant manager then, so it was just a family thing. But honestly, it was just all about having a core group of players who just ran for each other, battled, were really aggressive, really hard to beat, and just didn't know when to stop. Like, and reached the 4th round of the FA Cup to Doncaster, which was like unbelievable. They played at the stadium. When literally we didn't lose a game until March, I think, that year, and that was against Doncaster. We just went on a really, really good run, and we just kept. Wasn't pretty, but very effective, and that's when I started to think about then, right, player profiling is actually really important at senior level.
Right. So you explored different kinds of styles, obviously, with the expansiveness, and then there's that aggressive.
I didn't have a clue about the expansive stuff. I thought I did, but I didn't have to coach it.
But you revisited that over your career, right? With academy football and obviously doing your B license. You did your B license during that time, right?
Yes, I did my B license. So again, I didn't want to go my B license straight after my level 2. I wanted to wait because I wanted to make sure I was ready. And got to, I think, 24, and I was like, right, you know what, I coached the ladies team. I just started to coach a Coventry Scholars in the community there, under 15s, which was good for me because the tempo was a bit quicker. I started to watch that, and I was like, you know what, I felt confident in myself, so I did my B license, and I did my B license, and the feedback I got straight away was like, because I was so loud, so it kind of like, probably people think, oh, he's really loud, but actually listen to what I say. If I spoke quietly, they probably go, I'm useless, but because I'm quite loud, they thought he's passionate, he's got a bit about him, and I by all accounts, like, from what I've been told lectures, I did really well on my B license, and they were very happy with me. Yeah. So I passed that like really quick, and then so I was B licensed by 25, but I made sure I was ready as I could be before I took it.
So interesting. I done my B licence during my first ever managerial job. Yeah. And when I was on the course, I was thinking to myself, my goodness me, have I been winging it? Because all I was doing was basically translated what I'd learned from managers, how they spoke, how they did things, and a few sessions that I picked up along the way.
With Dad. Yeah.
During the B licence, and then after the B licence, I thought, right, I've got to up my game here. So how did that impact then your coaching and managing once you'd done the B licence?
I learnt the most on the B licence in terms of at that point. I started to think about more tactics. So back then, from what I was used to, I was very 4-4-2, very narrow, very aggressive. I had success because it was effective in the levels, like it was effective in women's football then. Like limited passes, but run off the ball, land on second balls, help everything in behind, like, and just swarm teams, like press really aggressively kind of thing. Whereas then the B licence, then it's a more, right, you got to try and break down while you do it, and you got to be more expressive, and there's topics and stuff and different formations and stuff. So it just made me, just being on them courses was just, I absolutely loved it, because I was surrounded by football people, and I started to become a little bit more humble then, where I wanted to like start, I was listening more, and I didn't think that I didn't think I knew everything then. So when the coaches were doing the sessions, I wanted to just sit and watch and make notes, and then I'd ask loads of questions, stuff like that, because I thought, I actually don't know anything here. So by that point then I was just, right, I need to develop myself.
Yeah, I can relate to that, because when you're doing the course, you just realise, because when you started out, you probably wanted to play a certain way, but you didn't have that depth of knowledge or that ability to express it to the players. But now with those tools that you got from that, I imagine that's very beneficial. You mentioned earlier that you went out to the States.
Yes.
So what was that experience like?
So I did the ladies team for 5 years, and we were in the Southern Prem, and it was hard. Like that was the second highest league, obviously, in England, and we stayed up in the Southern Prem. The closest team in the league was Tottenham, so it was a gruel. Wow. Every away game was far.
Wow.
Like we had Tottenham, we had Gillingham, Brighton, Charlton, like big teams. and we managed to stay up. I think we won like 5 of the last 7 games or something. We just went on a run and stayed up. But then we took it to the Northern Prem. But basically the same group of girls. Like these girls were paying £300 a year to play. Like I mean, we were competing with teams who had massive money. And then we moved to the Northern Prem, and I thought, okay, the chance here. After about 8 games, we were just getting, we just couldn't compete, and I just took it enough, and we got beat by Preston. Preston had a girl from Liverpool, a player from Liverpool come and play on loan. She scored like 9 goals against us, and the level was just stupid. And after the game, I went, you know what, I've took it as far as I can. I literally can't do anymore. I've got to go away and just like develop myself.
Yeah.
So I left after 5 years there. Joe took over. Actually kept him up, fairness, he'll want me to say, that year. Don't know how he did that, but him and Neil Collick kept him up. But I went to America then and just became a youth coach. I needed to get away from everything over here and became a youth coach there. Right. So yeah, that's how I started, like, in terms of like thinking about, right, how do I actually improve players as opposed to think about just winning.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I also went out, and before I went out, I had that same feeling as well. Like, I want to be in a different environment. I want to practice a little bit more because there you could do it every day. You can do it every weekend, and that repetition was something that we probably might need. But also, I think that different environment and how you can adapt to that different environment as well.
Yeah, 100%. It was challenging coaching there. It wasn't what I thought. It wasn't the full package that I got sold over there, but I love the lifestyle over there. I met some really good coaches, similar age, similar story to me, background to me. So you could kind of relate to each other. But in terms of the coaching there, really enjoyed working with young players, but I just didn't. It was about 18 months I was there for, and I realised I'm not going to develop here, and like because just different circumstances really. Yeah. Like I was doing so many hours. I had 4 teams, but when you do 4 teams in America, it's like you are beat 27 hours a day. It's like non-stop. I was having like 6th of a pitch and stuff like that, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just limited here. So even though I really enjoyed my time over there, from a coaching perspective, I knew that I had to do something else, and it was the stars basically aligned for me. And come to the next part of it, how I got to my next role, which was working for Gordon Strachan.
But I think still on that, and again we had Dennis on here last week, who obviously had played in Bermuda, coached in Bermuda, came over here, played and coached. He was able to talk about that. You've both been in America. I was very fortunate to play in Australia. I think it's still an excellent opportunity for any player or coach to go and experience a different culture. Definitely broadens your horizons as a coach. Just before we move on to your role back here that you transitioned to, any standout moments in America that you can think of?
One of the teams I had, we were really like low team, and we managed to like over there. It's like tournaments. So you have season. We have tournaments at that age, and they never won anything before. And we managed to win back-to-back tournaments. It was like the first time that these young players had won anything. This group, I think they were youth 12 girls. And just watching them, like how happy they were, how much it meant to the family and stuff like that. And like, if you do a good job over there regarding with their children, like the parents are the best in the world. Like they can't do enough for you, kind of thing. But just watching them, really, at that point, I was like, right, like hopefully they go on to have careers. But I knew the level they were. But just watching them as a team like grow and just really, really enjoying their faces when they won them tournaments. It was nothing to do with me, but just watching them, I was just more happy for them really, rather than anything else.
Yeah.
So then you come back to the UK.
Yeah.
You immerse yourself straight into a new coaching role with the Strachan Foundation.
So
tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it didn't work like that. So I was planning. My visa expired in America, and I was planning to go out. Visa expired in May, and I was due to go out in July. And I was at home one day, and I was a bit bored because I was thinking, do I want to go back or not? And I had nothing to do, but I was going back, nothing on. And I was in my garden. I literally remember being in my garden on like a Tuesday afternoon, 4:00 in the garden. I was just pondering my life, like. And my dad had a phone call. Like, he was with me, like my dad. He came back out and went, right, get changed, get smart clothes on. You're going to go meet Gordon Strachan. I was like, what you want about? He went, just been off the phone to my auntie Sarah and her son, my cousin Nick Brandish. Nick, Strachan have got a meeting tonight, their foundation. I want you to go. I was like, you sure? He went, get up and go. So I was like, okay. So I put my smart clothes on, like met him and stuff. Said hello to George, I'm sure we'll come to, and Gordon. And I was like, and I just said to him, look, I said, I've got nothing on for 2 months. Do you mind if I just come in and just watch training? And George went, absolutely, son. So if you come in. So the next day, I was up. I got to get the train because I never had a car because obviously I was in America. Got the bus to the train station to rugby. Got on the minibus. George picked me up. And then the first day I walked into Strachan, obviously no one knew. I had walked in, I had Gordon Strachan there, George Mackey there, Stephen Presley there. Gavin Strachan there, and then like, I think Lewis Hudson, he was like the young apprentice at the time, and I was just in awe. Like literally, I was like, Gordon Strachan was my, like growing up, one of my heroes because he was Coventry manager. I think he was the Scotland manager at the time, and I was just like, wow. So I just took it all in, like, and then every day then. So this is like every day then. I got the same journey. I got the bus from my house to Coventry Station, trained to rugby, got picked up. On the way back, had to do the same journey. And I did that, obviously, off my own back. There was no job there. Yeah. I did that for about 6 weeks, every day, like they were in. And then I was due to go back out to America the next week. And George calls me and goes, Ryan, it's the coach, Shay Thompson, who was the coach, has just got a job for Coventry City. Do you want to take the job? And I was like, oh, really? He went, yeah, do you want to take it? You've shown a good attitude, whatever. Like, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I want it. Like, I remember going to the bathroom and just started crying. Like, I was like, what an opportunity, like, kind of thing. Like, a bit soppy, obviously, but
big relief.
I was like, wow. Like, so I had to go back to America to sort a few things out, collect a few things that were over there. And then, I started working for the Strachan Foundation. Then I think it was 2016, I think, 2016, 2017. And that was that, yeah. So, welcome to Gordon Strachan's Foundation.
So, some of the names that you mentioned there, I've some excellent coaches you've mentioned. And having played under Gordon Strachan for a small while, his standards are impeccable.
Yeah.
What a legend of the game.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that environment, particularly with the other names that you mentioned as well, really must have pushed you to improve.
Yeah, so I thought I knew a little bit about football until I went there. And then I realised then I was so far off. Because obviously they work at the top level. So Gordon, obviously, Scotland manager. Gavin at the time was Peterborough. Stephen Presley had just come out of Coventry. I think he was working for Watford and Brentford. And then George Mackey, who's got to 2 FA Youth Cup finals with Coventry. Scotland under 18 coach, stuff like that. So all Scottish, like hard as anything. Yeah. Like don't take anything. The standards are the highest, and everything I knew or thought I knew about football, I just didn't. I was such a humbling experience for me very early on. At that point, then it was like, right, you know what, Ryan, just do your job, work really hard, and listen. Ask questions, listen, and if you get put onto... I remember doing sessions with Stephen Presley, like, watching me, and if I did something wrong, he would tell me, he'd hammer me. But I didn't mind it. Like, I never had an ego to, like, oh, don't upset me. I'll just tell me, because if you don't tell me, I'm not going to get better. So, yeah, it was a humbling experience, but then I did, so first year there, it was just basically just do your job, get your head down, learn, work really hard, put a good impression, and then see where it takes you.
But what you just said there, and I say this to all up-and-coming young coaches, and any coach, any opportunity you get to observe, any opportunity you get to receive feedback is so important, isn't it? I say to you, Ash, all the time, don't I? Yeah. Give me feedback, I will give Ash feedback. No holds barred. Don't think about feelings, just be perfectly honest, constructive criticism. Yeah. It's only going to make you a better coach. Yeah. So I can only imagine how high the standards would be there. No mistake about that. What else was it about that environment that impressed upon you in terms of the coaching?
So, not just the coaching, everything with it. So, turned up late. So, we were meeting George. Me and George were driving to a game on the minibus. We were meeting at Miller and Carter in Coventry. Meeting time was 8:30. I left my house what I thought was on time, and my ETA. I got to Miller and Carter 8:31. As I pulled into the car park, George drove straight off. The game was in Derby. Drove straight off and said, "Never be late again. You got to be the first one here." So that was the first lesson thing. Second one, then the thing I learned from that was if you mess up, or if you do something like just mess up, just hold your hand up and just go, you know what, I've messed up. Okay, I've done this wrong. I haven't, or if I forgot to do a team sheet on time, just go, I didn't do it. I forgot to do it. And George used to go, okay, let's fix it. Don't do it again, obviously, but let's fix it, like kind of thing. So even like away from the coach, and it was just standards of just being a person, really, of just own everything, just try and hold yourself up to the highest standards. That was one of the biggest things I took from it. And then the coaching then developed as I went on. I was doing more sessions, having more responsibility with teams, stuff like that. But George was just the mentor for me then. Like, he literally, anything I did, George would then be, right, Ryan, no, this is not how we do it. And I'd do a session, coaching, and George would go, Ryan, get off the pitch. This is how you do it. And then I'd come in and go, never do that again. And I'm going, what do you mean, you're not prepared? And he was like, you didn't watch the game, you haven't watched stuff. And yeah, it was just a really, really learning. Like, I just had to, everything I did, I just had to do to the best of my ability, which was probably I grew an awful lot without realising I grew, kind of thing. So I did 5 years there, but yeah, the standards and the expectations were just ridiculously high.
So it must have been a gauntlet as a coach, just constantly being observed and analysed and given that feedback. Now, at 29, you started in non-league.
So I was at Strachan for 3 years. Yeah, 3 years, and I was like, okay, I need to. I love coaching at youth level, but I thought, right, for myself now, I need to develop myself. I need to get into men's football. I need to get into men's football because I didn't know if I was going to be able to go into an academy football, the role I was in, because I didn't want to leave Strachan at the time. So I thought, right, I need to get into men's football. And my brother Joe had just been given the assistant manager's job at Hinckley with Courtney Balford, and they needed a coach. So they said, Ryan, would you like to do it? And I went, yeah, I really want to do it. So I went and met Courtney. Again, he never met me before, but he took like the leap of faith through Joe. And he said, look, do you want to coach then? And then, so I started that. So third year at Strachan, I started then getting to Hinckley as a first-time coaching men. Really different. I was nervous. That's probably the most nervous I've been coaching. And I've coached in front of like all sorts of coaches. But yeah, that was when I started to think about, right, I've got to be able to adapt as a coach as well as just about developing and winning.
What was the most notable difference coaching between men and women?
The men and women, okay. So how you speak to the men is one thing. So it was slightly different back then with the women because women's football was new to it, kind of thing, and we were so close as a group. Because I'd grown up with a lot of the players, we kind of knew each other anyway. So it was very different. Like we kind of the attitude that the women shown then in the team was very similar to what you'd actually get in terms of like in most men's changing rooms. Like they were loud burnt, very confident. Yeah. Like amongst themselves, weren't easily offended, kind of thing. Like they call people out when they needed to. But at that point then it was just kind of like how you speak to people and stuff like that really. But I'd developed as a coach anyway then. So how I spoke to people at 29 was different to how I spoke to maybe people at 22. And I look back when I was 22 and go, wow, I would never do that now. So it was a bit false for that because the women's I kind of grew with it. Whereas then if I reflected back when I was 29, I wouldn't have managed probably women the same then.
Was there like any immediate challenges in terms of earning the respect of those players?
So I was worried at first because obviously like you haven't, because the first thing people think of is, right, who's this coach, who have you played for? And I only played, I think I played step 5 non-league, so then mainly step 6, so like you haven't got that pedigree, and a lot of the arrogance in like with people is the person telling me what to do, what level has he played at? Is he better than me, kind of thing? So that was like the mentality of it. But I did my first session there, and I just tried to, every session I did with the men's wasn't detailed, but it was every session that I would want to do as a player myself, because I was still playing at the time, but only just to like just a little bit, just to keep ticking over. But it was any session that I think I would want to do as a player, do with the team. And there wasn't a lot of coaching. It was just in terms of like, these are the drills and sessions, and just get good demands and make them working hard, get them having fun, get them loads of crossing and finishing, get them understanding the importance of like off the ball stuff like that. And straight away then the lads just bought into it. Courtney was excellent with me. He said, Ryan, look, that was really good. Like Joe was obviously my brother, so he knew what it was like anyway. So that's what I want to get the players on side by putting on sessions that they enjoyed doing. And it did work at first.
I think what you said though, I think there's a massive shift now. I know when I was growing up and when I first went into managing and coaching, the players would often really quickly give respect if the person coming in the door has had a playing career. I think that's changing now, and rightly so. Players now want to be helped. Players want to be the best that they can possibly be, and it's about your coaching expertise and your quality as a coach that's more important.
Agree.
You went and then done your A licence. Now, for someone who's done the A licence as well, that for me was that of a learning curve. Tell us a bit about that.
So I did it in Scotland. Obviously, the contacts did help. Gordon put a good word in for me. So I went and did it in Scotland, and first day, there's loads of us, like about 80 of us, whatever, and I go, oi, Ryan, can you come here? And it was Scott Brown, the Saudi captain, and he went, Ryan, can you just stay out with me for 20 minutes and just I want to practice some passing, like, and I was like, wow, just 20 minutes of just me and Scott Brown, like, me like shanking balls and him just driving these balls to me, kind of thing. Like, I ran my dad afterward, guess what I've just done there? And then Scott kind of like helped me, took me in his wing a little bit. And then that was the most enjoyable period of my coaching I think I've probably ever had. Just being surrounded by a load of Scottish people, funny as anything, but really ruthless with the coaching. And I learned so much. I had Liam Kelly, the Coventry captain at the time, like, so I was like a bit in awe of him as well. But it was really good, and again, because I'm so loud, I remember doing my first practice session like in front of everyone, and it was only a small 5-minute thing, and I remember doing it and thinking, I probably didn't get it right, but I thought I've done okay there. And we had a task then the next day, and it was an analysis task, and there was about 80 on the course, and I just had a feeling that I was going to get called out, like, because I thought I've left probably a good impression here just because of how I was. And I had to go, the names come out, there's 3 people going to do this course in the lecture room in front of everyone, and my name came out last, and I went, oh my days, like, I've never been that nervous in my life. And I had to give like a pretend team talk. I had to stand in front of the whole room. I had ex-Scottish internationals, current football players, all these coaches, and there's a youngish English coach kind of like at the side of the front, and it was the most daunting I've been, but I learned a lot from myself, because I just thought, you know what, who cares, like just be confident in yourself. And so from then on, I had the air license was unreal. Sat there, asked a lot of questions, observed an awful lot. When we were on our lunch, I'll be speaking to the people about sessions, what their background is, what they think about certain sessions, stuff like that. And I just love doing the courses, because I just felt that was the best way I developed.
Without doubt, and that's what I found during the A licence, it really gets you out of your comfort zone, doesn't it? It really stretches you, particularly if a lot of your coaching's been the practical side of things, which mine had up to that point, not a great deal of analysis, and now all of a sudden you're having to analyse a session or analyse part of a game, then present it to a group of people. You know, it can be quite challenging. You've got to be really prepared, haven't you? What other takeaways did you get from the A licence course?
So key phrases. So this is probably where, not having a playing background, you are playing catch up as such, because the terminology that some of the ex-pros were using, just to say, if I wanted to make a point, for example, about pressing, it might take me 10 words. They could just get the point across in 3 words, and because they were used to that. So that's why I started to learn that, okay, I've got to actually, if I want to work at their level, I have to work harder than them, and I have to do a lot of research more. So it was the terminology really they used, and just having like the little bit detail. So I got the ball. Whenever we got the ball, Scott Brown was against you. He'd like come on pressure, but you'd have no way out. And I said to him, I said, like, how do you press that efficiently? And he was like, as soon as the ball's coming to you, I look at the person who's on the ball, their body position, their eyes, if they've had a look, and he was like, that's what I'm looking for. I know if I can win it or not. And it was just little things like that, really. Like, it was all of them little details that I thought, okay, playing does help you do that, because you're surrounded by that, and if you don't do that, you're going to get found out, kind of thing. So I was just them, and then I was just asking all the ex-pros, like all the tutors, just every detail possible. If I had a session, right, how can I explain that better? Like, if I'm doing a crossing in wide area, what kind of cross am I looking for? Yeah. What kind of run do I'm looking for? So rather than just go get the ball wide, cross, you run, tap the front post, I'd actually ask, right, break this down with me, please, and tell me everything I need to do, like every detail I need to try and get over, and then I go away and research it. Yeah. So it was the details in it that at that point I started to go, right, I need to sharpen up here.
And that's the great thing about these courses, isn't it? All these coaching courses, you get to collaborate with other coaches, share ideas. It's not just the content that's getting delivered to you. So you're in non-league football now, and then you get an opposition scout, Ipswich Town?
Yes. So George's friend Darren Robinson he was scouting, and an opportunity came up at Ipswich Town, and it was to be an opposition scout. So he said, and so George recommended me. He said, Darren, look, I've got a young coach here, Ryan. Like, thinks about the game. He's okay, I guess. And he was like, Ryan, he went Darren to give him a chance. So Darren then said, Ryan, here's a game. Ipswich are playing Luton in 3 weeks' time. Go and watch Luton play. So I went and watched Luton play, and I did a proper report. But the pressure, that was when I realised the demands of pro football, because I went to Luton, watched the game, made the notes and stuff, all just off my own back, kind of thing. I got guided a little bit, but it was like, Ryan, we need an opposition report. And I was like, okay, so that was a Saturday, did the game, and then after the game, got a phone call from Ipswich, and they said, right, we want it first thing tomorrow morning. I was like, what? They went first thing tomorrow morning. So I was like, okay, so I stopped off at a service station, and had to get this plan together, and it was just, then I realised the demands were stupid, but then I found that I really, really enjoyed watching the tactical side of games, and looking at how teams, not just how they play 4-4-2 against a 4-3-3, what kind of patterns do they have? What are the player traits? What are they looking to do to hurt the opposition? How could Ipswich nullify their threat, but also then expose their weaknesses as such? So it just allowed me then to just think about the game completely bigger from what I was really back then. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
So it's more of a detached role. I believe you was coaching at the same time as well. Right?
Yeah, so I did. So it was basically, I'd probably do maybe 2 games a month, maybe. Right. And then did that for probably about probably about a year on and off kind of thing, because it was, if I couldn't do it because of my commitments to Hinckley and Strachan, then I wasn't able to do it. But then unfortunately COVID hit, so that got the end of that. But it was honestly like, it was like midweek games. I'd have to get the report in for the morning after. But I had really good feedback though, so I'd always speak to Craig Strachan, who works for Celtic as a scout. Obviously I'm with George Gordon and that, so I'd always like say, right, this is a report, what do you think? And they'd always give me advice, stuff like that. But generally though, it was, yeah, Ryan, that's all right, like, so yeah.
Yeah. So after 5 years, you felt it was time to move on. What kind of position did you go into after that?
So I was I did 5 years at Strachan. I'm coming to my 6th year. I really enjoyed it. I was really enjoying it, but I just felt that I was just a bit flat. So I was, and wrongly so. I was 5 years there, 6th year, and I just went, you know what, I've just probably done enough now. Like I felt like I wasn't developing. And it was nothing with anyone I was working with, anything like that. I just went, I've just plateaued here. Yeah. We were playing the same teams every year. And I was just like, you know what, I need something different. So not unfortunately, but I was very sad. I left, but I got a job opportunity in America. And it was a big risk. Like I knew the risk at the time. But I went, you know what, I'm going to go to America. So I went to North Carolina in August, it was. I did 4 months over there. I didn't enjoy it. Like, I again enjoyed the lifestyle, but the coaching was what it was. I didn't enjoy it at all. But it was them 4 months that I learned, something just clicked in my head, and I started to see football differently, and I knew what I needed to do how I needed to improve. So leaving, I didn't want to. I was sad to leave, but it was honestly the best thing I did leaving, because I started to look at the game differently, and I started to look at myself differently. Not in an arrogant way, like not rating myself at all, but I knew then, okay, right, to get to the next step now, this is what I have to focus on. So it was just coming away from that and just having time to reflect was the best thing that happened to me up to now, really, because that's when I noticed that my coaching and the way I thought about the game took a massive shift.
Was there a particular moment over there that spurred that kind of thought process?
I was watching a game with my flatmate. We were watching Aston Villa v Brighton, and he asked me a question about something and just about because I think Brighton were all over Aston Villa, and asked me a question about what would you do if you were Villa, how'd you get out of this? And I'd just put something together, kind of thing. And then the second half, luckily or whatever, it kind of came out like they couldn't get out on the left side. It was like they keep passing to the left side and playing down the left side, try and switch it the other way, and then go out the other way. You got an overload. And he was like, Ryan, that was all right. Like, it was right. And I kind of went, yeah. And then I just started to think about, then I started following a load of analysis people on Twitter. And they were breaking down the game then, and breaking down everything. So how you build out, what you're looking for in wide area, what you're looking for centre midfield. And it was just that was the moment that I realised, hang on, this is what I have to think about now, the game, because football is revolving stupidly quick. Stupidly quick. And I went, I can't fall behind here. So I just packed my bags and left. December, I left. I went, right, I'm not going to do anything out in America now. I need to get back to the UK, and I have to start coaching properly. And because otherwise, if I stay out there, the world's going to go really quick. I need to get back on that train, kind of thing. So that was my moment. I realised I wanted to get back, because I'm not getting anything what I'm doing out there. Over there, I need to get back and try and put myself in that situation again. Yeah.
So 2 things you mentioned, I think, in any walk of life, it doesn't have to be football coaching, it could be your career. You have to be honest to yourself at some point and say, sometimes I think I've reached a plateau here.
Yeah.
I need to go and immerse myself in another environment for whatever reason that might be, often to challenge yourself and to grow and evolve, which you did. And then I can relate to what you said. It's along your coaching journey, you will get new insights. I really do believe coaching's a journey, and you have to be ready for certain things at certain points. Nothing beats experience, nothing beats going on courses. But I say to a lot of coaches, just be patient. Let the process evolve, let the process develop. You'll get to the place that you need to be at the right time, I believe. So then you come back to England, straight back into non-league football, semi-pro?
Yes, so I literally didn't have anything set up as such, but I was like, I'm coming back. And then I'd gone in with Lewis Hudson to Redditch in the pre-season before I left, and introduced myself to Matt Clark, the manager there. And I said, look, I know you haven't got any job opportunity at the moment, but do you mind if I just come training still? I'll help out with your analysis stuff. I'll help out with any training drills, anything like that, and just let me be around the changing room. And full credit to Matt, he said, yeah, he said, come on board. And he looked after me away from football as well, because obviously I wasn't working, so he looked after me there. Grateful for that, ridiculously grateful for that. But he just allowed me, he didn't know who I was really, he never heard of me before I left Hinckley. Because Hinckley, we got beat in the playoffs. And I knew that I was ambitious, kind of thing. So I said to Joe and Courtney, look, step 6, I want to try and get higher. I'm trying to be a professional coach and get higher. So I left. and they understood completely, like, because we're on the same journey. So I just turned up to Redditch like every train, every game, home and away, and Matt just let me be part of it. He then let me lead the analysis. I then started helping out with sessions when I could, and yeah, it was really, really good for me. And then again, like anything, I was just making notes. So I was making notes about how to deal with non-league, like, because they were obviously a lot higher the level. I was dealing with like ex-professional players, stuff like that, and like good players, good pedigrees. And it was just making notes of like, how do I treat these players? What do these players want? How do I speak to players? So just watching and learning off the staff there. And coming back to your point, I realised at that point players just want to get better.
Yeah.
So it's irrelevant about your playing ability; they want to get better.
Yeah. And another great thing, there's so many opportunities now within non-league football for aspiring coaches that, want to put themselves out there. I see lots of opportunities now, so that's great. It isn't just youth coaching that coaches can go into. What would you say the main challenges? Certainly, when I've managed and or coached in non-league, I know there's particular challenges that I struggle with. I'll be honest. What were some of the main challenges you encountered as a coach?
As a non-league
At non-league.
At non-league, size of your pitch area, because obviously funds might not be there. Size of your pitch area. Sometimes you've got 5 different drills that you want to do, but you have to remove the cones and then put the other ones up, and players are waiting around. Stuff like that. Equipment breaking, so when you do analysis and you can't get the equipment to work, and all the players are sitting there and they're rightly going to hammer you for it as well. It was just like the equipment, just stuff like nothing really in terms of the coaching. The players were brilliant, staff were brilliant, but it was like things that you can't really control to a degree. Just the frustrations with that. So like you'd be doing a session and then the balls would be coming onto your pitch from like people that are training somewhere else, like, and you're like, what is going on here, kind of thing. But it was them really things. Like I found that Hinckley couldn't do enough for me in terms of if I asked for equipment, they give it to me. Courtney and Joe let me do the sessions. Reddit, literally exactly the same, but it was just things like when I wanted to do the analysis stuff, like the VO might not work, stuff like that. It was just like that really. So yeah, it was stuff that I couldn't really control. That was the frustrating thing, but I was just happy to be there because I thought I'm progressing here anyway. So I don't moan at stuff like that because probably learnt from my dad and George really. What's the point in moaning? Like, just roll your sleeves up and work hard and deal with it and adapt.
Yeah, so despite all of that, you was still involved in youth football, I imagine, coming from Strachan. Was you then on the journey in terms of academy football?
So I did. I knew from my own development the men's. So after we finished the first half a season at Redditch pre-season, and Matt then called me in and said, "Right, Ryan, we've reached off in staff. Want to be first team coach?" And I was like, buzzing. Like I was like absolutely right. It's another progression now. Like I've gone, obviously I was volunteering there as such, which all the lads reminded me of being a volunteer there. But then I became a coach, like, and I was like buzzing with that. But obviously non-league football, it's about results. It is literally because results keep you in a job. They're good. It looks good for your CV when you win. I was like, okay, for my own development though, how do I then? Because I need to coach. If I want to coach at the highest level possible one day, how can I ever do that if I'm not coaching towards that level now? Because non-league you're dealing with you're coaching on the now, because if you don't deal with the now, you're not going to be in a job, kind of thing. So I was like, right, what do I have to do then to develop myself still? Probably that I could have gone back with being at Strachan. If I had that mentality at Strachan, I would have carried on developing there stupidly. So then I went, right, you know what, I need to coach technical detail more. I can't, if I've got different ways of tactics, because obviously with Redditch we had a set way of playing, and it was just make that the best we could be, and we did have very good success. But I was like, right, if I need to play, like, how do I build up from the back? Because in our league, you build up from the back relatively light at certain times, but how do I build from the back? How do I coach a midfield player to receive it under pressure all the time? Because there's a lot of things there, like don't give it him there, stuff like that. Whereas no, I need to be able to coach to give it him there if I want to coach at that level when I'm older. So I had to get into youth football to just better develop myself, and I managed to get a job, apply for a job at Walsall, and was working alongside your fellow co-host there, doing the 14s, and yeah, it was really, really good, and we're going to come to it now, I'm sure.
So I talk about what were the main challenges working with adults in non-league. What would you say the main challenges were working in academy football?
So academy football or just Walsall specifically?
Well, Walsall, yeah, because
I'd say how I spoke to the players. So dealing with men, every other word, like you can't. I like really enjoy the banter with the interaction with the lads. So if I'm doing a session and the lads like start saying something to me, I want to say, I'll tell them what like off kind of thing. Whereas I couldn't say that with the young players. So, and I hadn't done that for a while. So obviously I just did men's football for a 6-month period. So having to adapt how I coach, but then also having to break down every technical detail. So rather than say, right, this is how we're going to pass the ball out, no, break everything down with them. So I found that challenging, but also stimulating because I was like, I want to get better, stuff like that. So if a lad has a shot, no, how are you having your shot? Like break down the technique with that.
Yeah.
Lads, if we're playing in a 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1, this is how we're going to try and play out. But don't just play there. No, this is how you're going to receive it. So you're going to pass it. This is what you're looking for if you're going to play the ball in behind, kind of thing. So it was just breaking down every detail and ripping it up, and then right, this is how I'm going to coach it. As opposed to with men's senior football, right, play the ball down the side of the pitch, get up the pitch, kind of thing. It was there. No, if we're going to play that pass, how are we playing that pass? So that was a challenge for a bit. It was a challenge that I absolutely loved because it developed me.
Yeah. And what you spoke about there, I think unless anybody's worked in an academy environment, I don't think they do truly appreciate the demands that's made on you as a coach when you think of your travel time there and back, your away games every other Sunday, travelling up and down the country, sometimes leaving on a Sunday morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning to then go and deliver the game. As I say, the report writing, the meetings, and then every session needs to be methodically planned. And like you say, the information that you partake in, ideally to future professionals, needs to be at a very high level, doesn't it? So would you say that complemented your work in non-league football?
100%. It was the perfect, that point was the perfect balance. So I was learning at Redditch in terms of, right, how do you coach a men's football, watching obviously Matt, how he manages the men's football. We were doing really well. We were like top of the league for a lot of that season. So just learning that, right, how do you deal with that situation? Also then trying to have my own ideas as well with it, kind of thing. So right, this is how we're going to play. How do we improve it? But then also found that players want to get better. So I was still doing technical coaching, but I'd research, like for Walsall, I would research a sessional type of drill, and then I'd realise actually this is relevant to my men. So if I want to coach a fullback how to receive it, and I break it down with Walsall, the left back at Walsall, well, I could go and do it with the left back and right back at Redditch, but I'd probably use video analysis as well, kind of thing. I just found that the lads at Redditch, they just want to get better. And I think that helped me a lot then, because obviously I haven't played for their level, but because they knew that I was very passionate and worked hard, and I was player development led at that point, they kind of just bought into it really. So yeah, I found that the crossover was really good. It was just perfect for my development. Like I was just really in a really good place last year.
No. So for me, and I've always said this, I've always, in the main, managed to balance non-league management with academy coaching, and I personally found they've complemented each other perfectly. You know, I've been able, most of the stuff that I've been able to take from academy football into men's football, not necessarily the way around, but I think it all comes back to, for me, what I'm experiencing in the modern game, all the players want to be helped. It's very competitive out there, and if you're the one, as the manager, the coach, the sports scientist, whatever, that can just add a little bit of a new dimension to their game, they'll appreciate that. So then you move on to Hednesford Town. How did that come about?
Matt left in the summer, just gone, and then Tim Flowers came in. So Callum and me actually got we were like in line. We had discussions about maybe taking over in the summer. Callum Flanagan, discussions there. But for whatever reason, we didn't feel we were right at the time. Like I've never thought about going to management because I want to try and get higher as I can as a coach before I even think about management, because I don't know, I've got a lot to learn. But we thought about it then, and we said at the time it probably wasn't right. Callum was going to continue playing, but I would then, because Callum plays, I'll help a lot more off the pitch in terms of like supporting Tim. Tim came in, never met him before, absolutely brilliant, just absolutely brilliant. Like different style of football, different, very old school how he was, but just knew what he wanted. And again, luckily, I was just working for a manager who had unbelievable success, and we've just flown along really. So Tim's very direct how he plays, as we know, but it was like, okay, the breakdown of it. So how are we gonna make this successful? And yeah, again, we had a really good group of lads who I got on with really well, and they just bought into it. So we had our highs, there were lows with it, but even this year, like I just decided, right, I'm going to really get into this now. It was good for my own development because of a different style of football. Because again, if we're going to a team and I think, right, our players suit this way, how am I going to coach it? So it wasn't just to kick it long direct. It was, no, how are we going to get the best out of our front three? How are we going to get our midfielders joining? Like it was, everything was up with a purpose. I did leave though, so this is a regret. I left Walsall at that in the summer because I couldn't get the time. I couldn't have the time to do Redditch. And come on, demands at Redditch increased. I didn't have the time to then do Walsall. Walsall needed me to do 3 sessions a week in games. I could only do like 2. and it just wasn't enough. Like, so I was gutted to stay, and I missed the Walsall coaching an awful lot because I missed the development coaching. I miss having to get into try and be a little bit creative in terms of tactics, and still breaking down that individual player thing. So I do miss that a lot. But in terms of how the Redditch were getting, it was unreal. Tim then left. I think it was November time, and then I was and ahhing really. Like me and Callum did put our names in the hat for it. Like, honest with it, like. But the chairman felt that it wasn't the right time because obviously I didn't think we fancied it back then. And I was like, you know what, that doesn't bother me, kind of thing. I want to coach anyway. And then I was had a couple of offers. I was really actually taken back by some of the offers that I had, like because no one knows really. They just knew he was a coach at Redditch, kind of thing. And I was taken back really. And then I had a phone call off unknown number, and it was Lee Vaughan. I knew he'd just gone into Hednesford with Gavin, assistant manager, and I was sat smiling. I was like, "You're right." He went, "It's Lee Vaughan." I went, "Oh, Lee." He went, "Yeah, I spoke to Tim, like Flowers, and he's recommended you. Like, we need a coach." Me and Gavin. He said, "Do you want to come in?" And I was like, "Absolutely, yeah." I knew Hednesford were big potential. Like, even though it was a step down in terms of level, I knew that what the club had and like what their ambitions were. I was like, "Yeah, this is a really good opportunity here." So yeah, I think. End of November, I joined Hednesford as a first team coach.
You're on an incredible run right now. How many games unbeaten?
I think we're 14 unbeaten now,
14.
and we've conceded like 3 goals in them 14. I'm just lucky, to be fair, because when I was at Redditch, we finished fourth in the league, got beaten in the playoffs. When I was at Redditch this year under Tim, we were third in the league when I left. And then at Hednesford, then nothing to do with me, by the way, but at Hednesford then, I think we were 13th when I came in, and we're now second in the league. And it took a bit of time. And again, I'm always looking to learn, so I'm learning for all the managers before. I'm learning an awful lot of Gavin and Lee, like so much from it. And they've been really good for me. They let me do the session, but they tell me exactly what they want from a session. So I'll do the coaching with it, but they will say, "Ryan, we're looking for this, that, and that. Now go and plan it and do it." But then I have to send my plans from before. They check over it. They then say, "Right, yeah, fine," or "Ryan, change that, tweak that," kind of thing. So, but I'm learning an awful lot from how they're managing a budget, managing a big club of big demand, managing a big group of players who have obviously have really good careers there and all hungry and really, really good people as well. So I'm learning an awful lot. But yeah, we're doing really well at the moment. We're currently second in the league, 7 games to go. Just got to keep working hard and what will be.
How many games unbeaten is it?
I think it's 14.
14.
I've said, yeah,
Can you send me over some session plans you're doing with these lads?
14. So we keep that in Hednesford. So what goes on at Hednesford stays at Hednesford. So, yeah.
I'll give you a call tonight. So listen, you've worked at so many levels. You know, that's what I've always found intriguing about you, Ryan. You've worked with females, you've worked with kids at various ages, you've worked with your dad. Youth academy football, you've gone overseas, scholarship program, non-league, loads of experience. What any future projects, any future challenges you want to get your teeth into?
I want to be professional. I want to be my dream, and anyone who knows me, I'm obsessed with being working full-time football. Yeah. I chose the coaching route because I felt that having non-played that's probably the easiest route in order to try and get to that level, because like being a manager is hard. I was sat right at the bottom, and I didn't have really any interest in managing anyway. I was obsessed with coaching and developing myself. So I want to work in professional football full time. That is my dream. That's what I live for. That's why I wake up every day and research football and watch stuff like that. Hopefully it's like with heads we keep going up kind of thing. But yeah, that is my dream. My goal is just to work. I want to be a professional football, and the day I've done that, then I'll look up and say thank you. But then I'll go again. I want to go higher, and then maybe one day go into management, maybe kind of like. But I need to make sure if I go to management, like my courses, I'm ready. I'm at a point where I'm really confident. I know my ability. I know what I want. One thing I've learned this year massively: player profiling. So any style or system I have, make sure that you sign the players and make sure you've got the players to fit that profile. Yeah. You see a lot of times where teams want to play a certain way, but the players don't suit it. So it becomes a massive square pegs in round holes. But no, I just want to keep getting better as a coach, keep working really hard, keep trying to support people, managers, assistant managers, stuff like that. Keep trying to do a good job. But my dream is to work in professional football, in some capacity.
So we've shared many a car journey up the M6, drinking coffee, 3 or 4 hours to get to a game, chatting about the game.
Of the world,
And talking about other stuff away from football. How else do you continue to make sure you're always evolving and developing as a coach?
So along with the men's team, I need to get more coaching hours. Absolutely love, like the men's is my goal, obviously, but for my own development, I need to get more coaching hours. So I'll be actively looking to get another part-time role in terms of just getting more hours on the grass, even if it's academy or whether it's just a team where Ryan come and do 1-2 sessions in the week. Because the only way I can get better is it's like the more hours you put in, the better you get. I need to get more hours in. So yeah, I'm looking to get more hours on the coaching pitch. But it has to go in line with my men's role because that's my bread and butter. That's not my main ambition. But in order to develop, because I can't fall behind because there are coaches coaching 4 sessions a week who are in a role where I want to get to. So I need to work harder than them to get that role as such. So yeah, I'm actively looking to get more coaching hours on the pitch because that is the only way I can grow and develop.
That's good advice. But also for young coaches, what would be the top tip, would you say, going forward?
Don't think you know anything. Just stay really humble. Be confident in yourself, but never be scared to get told that you're doing something not quite right. Never be scared to put yourself in a situation that you might feel uncomfortable and you'll fail. Just don't be scared to fail. And just have people tell you, just be open and have a personality where people can say, right, Ryan, that wasn't right. Okay, I go, what was better? So yeah, just get your ego, throw it out the window. No one cares about that. And just be confident, develop, ask loads of questions, take advice, and yeah, just go and put yourself out there. And yeah, you're only gonna, if you don't fail, you're never gonna get better. So just don't be scared to fail. Yeah, just learn from it.
Absolutely, Ryan. This has been a fantastic podcast. What you've just said there, what we're finishing on, I would echo. The best 3 pieces of advice that you've just touched on that I would give to any coach: stretch yourself, put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Your session may not go as planned. You may be nervous. Put yourself in there, because the next time you do it, you'll be less nervous and your session will go better. Receive feedback. Always be willing to receive feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, and leave your ego at the door. Yeah.
Right.
Brilliant.
And on that, I'd say, if you can, find a mentor, because it will accelerate your process as well. I think in my own experience, a mentor has been massive. So thanks, Ryan, for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
It's been a great conversation.
I've really enjoyed it.
Before we finish off, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Sopranos. Check them out at sopranos.co.uk, and thank you for listening.